Okay, so good evening, everyone. I think everybody are ready. And to start with, may I request our president, Mr. Ghassan Al-Dosari, to introduce to us our guest speaker tonight.
Yes,
Mr. Ghassan, go ahead.
yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ghassan Al-Dosari, the AACE AGS president. On behalf of the AGS board, I welcome you to our 11th webinar. I'm also glad to inform you that the next CCP will start in mid-June 2022. The registration is underway, and I request all professional and top management to sponsor their professional employees to join our forthcoming certification courses. Today's technical webinar will focus on the necessity of value engineering for cost estimators. Jacqueline Fahmy is the first woman certified value specialist in Africa and the Middle East. She is the president of SAVE, which is the Society of American Value Engineering International, Eastern Mediterranean and African chapter, and director of membership for SAVE International. She holds a PhD based on value engineering and a master's in project management from Alexandria University. In addition, she also holds a Bachelor of Science in Architect Engineering. Jacqueline as well is certified PMP and a Six Sigma Black Belt. She has 19 years of experience in project management and value engineering, and is also an approved instructor in value engineering in basic and advanced levels. She is also an approved instructor in companies and a consultant around the world, such as Saudi Aramco and Dubai Municipality. Moreover, she led over 54 worldwide workshops. Jacqueline has award from SAVE International in 2019 for leading the best regional chapter and for her efforts to spread the awareness of value engineering. Once again, thank you for joining us, and I hope this webinar will be beneficial to you and to your experience. Back to you, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Engineer Hassan. I would like to thank all the team for organizing the event and all your great activities. So let's start. Are you able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Yeah, it's visible now. Can you make it in a full screen?
I will start and end with this presentation. It takes around 3 minutes only.
This is Marco, the virtual assistant of Dr. Jacqueline Fahmy. I'll do a quick presentation. This is Marco, the virtual assistant of Dr. Jacqueline Fahmy. I'll do a quick presentation about the cost estimation. So let's start by looking at a diagram about the basic structure of cost. This is Marco, the virtual assistant of Dr. Jacqueline Fahmy. I'll do a quick presentation about the cost estimation. So let's start by looking at a diagram about the basic structure of cost estimate. Normally, we work on quantifying direct and indirect costs, then combining these costs to get our total project costs. We'll then apply a markup to cover our profit margin and corporate overheads to get the price we submit to the client. The first step in the estimating process will be to determine direct costs. The direct costs will always form the bulk of the project costs. Usually over 70% of the total project costs will be direct costs. To determine our direct costs, we need to develop our work breakdown structure and determine all the work required to complete, develop our delivery solution. So work out how we're going to complete the works. Then quantify the costs for each scope item. So work out the labor plan, materials, and subcontract costs for each of these. Next, we need to determine our indirect costs. These will consist of preliminaries, overheads, and our risk and opportunity. We'll quantify our preliminary costs based on identifying all of our preliminary cost items, quantifying them. We'll determine our overhead costs by creating our project organization chart and estimating staff salaries. And finally, we'll work out what contingency we need to allow for by developing a risk and opportunity register. We'll then combine all these costs to get our total project cost. Apply a markup to this cost to cover the business profit margin and corporate overheads. Review our estimate, fill out the client pricing schedule, and then submit it to the client. Let's now look at direct cost, estimating in a little bit more detail. Direct cost estimating can be broken down into 3 simple fundamental steps. Number 1, understand the scope. Number 2, establish the delivery methodology. And number 3, estimate the costs. In step 1, we need to work out everything we need to accomplish to complete the project. What is everything we need to do to finish and hand over the project to the client? This involves creating the work breakdown structure and identifying all the unique project deliverables. These will be summarized into work packages. Next, we need to do a quantity takeoff and determine for each work package the quantum of work to be completed. For example, if we have a work package from a subsurface drainage patent, install how many linear meters of drainage are required? In step 2, we need to establish our delivery methodology. How are we going to complete the required deliverables? This involves developing our construction methodology. Step 2 will be heavily related to procurement and the development of the project schedule. We'll put a lot of focus on the timing and resource requirements needed to complete the work. By the end of step 2 for each package, we should know whether we plan on subcontracting ourselves, performing the works, and exactly how we plan on delivering the work package. And finally, in step 3, now we know what has to be done and how we are planning on doing it. We can estimate costs. How much money do we need to complete each work package for our self-performed costs? This will require us to estimate our productivities, our labor, plan, and materials. When using subcontractors to complete the works, we'll need to get quotes from subcontractors and suppliers. It's worth noting that all these steps are iterative, meaning they won't exactly occur in the order, and the results we get from each stage will impact the previous step. For example, as we're going through and establishing the delivery methodology, we'll probably realize we've missed some scope and have to go back to step 1. Whereas we're estimating costs, we may realize we can save a lot of money by self-performing the works and go back and change our delivery methodology.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so now I will start my presentation, and don't worry, we will replay this video as an introduction about our discussion, related to our direct discussion. So let's start. We will discuss 3 topics. First, what the value engineering is. It will be an introduction about the value engineering, followed by discussion about the necessity of value engineering indicators, why it's time to become a certified specialist.
Doctor, we could not hear your audio.
the maximum value for the project. So our objective is not to reduce the cost. This is what I'm trying to clarify in all our technical webinar, because there is a lot of misunderstanding and confusion, because sometimes people consider the cost reduction exercise as value engineering. Even they name this exercise in their organization as value engineering, which is extremely different. So we are balancing between cost and quality, safety, and other performance parameters. Value is the reliable performance of functions to meet customer needs at the lowest overall cost. And it could be calculated like functions divided by the cost, where function is the product or service which is related to what the product or service provide. What does it do for you? Okay. Then to be able to achieve this function, we must pay, correct? So cost here refer to the need for consuming resources. And here I have a question for you. What the resources means? What the resources means for you? No? What the resources means? Okay, resources are for M, another M, and double E. Yes, material. Three other M, please. Engineer Abdallah. Yes, money, manpower. What else?
Methodology.
Yeah, here's the methodology. This is a very, very special M. It's how we are professionally dealing with those 4M. Okay? And the double E, not the management. So the 4M, again, the 4M, it's money, machine, manpower, and materials. Okay? And this very special M is the methodology. Means how professionally we are dealing or using those the previous 4M, okay? And the remaining, what about the remaining 2E? Environment and?
Energy.
And energy. People certified are joining the meeting, okay? Exactly, thank you. Okay, to be able to do so, we have our value engineering job plan. This job plan is composed of 3 main stages. Stage number 1 is the pre-workshop. Stage number 2 is the workshop itself, and stage number 3 is the post-workshop. What we are doing in the pre-workshop is all the activities that make us understand the project or product or service or the topic under study, okay? Which is not limited to just reviewing the drawings, but we are doing a lot of models to understand the project. In addition to, sometimes we are visiting sites, and of course we are forming the team during the pre-workshop phase. Then the workshop itself, the value workshop itself, which is composed of 6 main phases. The phase number 1 is the information phase. In the information phase, we are gonna start to the transformation. By it means how we are gonna use the models to convert what we've collected, all what we've collected during the pre-study phase to information and direct decisions, okay? Then we start the function analysis phase. And this is, we are considering the function analysis phase as the soul of the value engineering. This is what distinguishes the value engineering from any other problem solving approaches. The functional analysis phase, during the functional analysis phase, we're gonna study the functions of the subject or the topic under study. During the functional analysis phase, we're gonna first start by identifying the functions. Then, is there a problem with the voice? Are you able to hear my voice or no?
Yes, doctor. Yes, Dr. Jacqueline. Yes, your voice is very clear.
Thank you. Okay. So we start by the function identification, in which we work on identifying the functions, then followed by function classification to understand where are the basic functions exist. And the basic function represent the function that the client are willing to pay for it. Okay, so during the classification phase, we're gonna classify function to basic function and secondary function, and we have other categories for the secondary function. Apart from these details, it will be followed by the organized phase, in which we're gonna organize and study and start to study the relationship between those functions to be ready for the FAST diagram. The FAST diagram is the abbreviation of the function analysis system technique. It's a diagram in which we're gonna study the logic relationships which we're gonna merge those functions to try to find opportunities for the value improvement, trying to find probably missing function which we need to add to our project to improve the value, or probably we'll work on eliminating the unwanted functions, or probably we're gonna try to find other alternatives or which are less expensive. So during the creativity phase, so after the function analysis, we start the creativity phase. During the creativity phase, we work on generating a large number of ideas to achieve the functions. What we've got from the previous phase is the function analysis phase. But let's agree that not all those ideas will be suitable to be applied. That's why we have the evaluation phase. The evaluation phase is like a phase for filtering the ideas. Then, so that's why we need to take a decision which ideas will remain and which ideas will be eliminated. Then during the development phase, we will gonna work on converting the ideas to mature value engineering proposal, in which we're gonna highlight the impact on cost, and not only cost, but life cycle cost. We'll highlight as well the impact on quality, on performance, on safety, and other related non-multi criteria as well. After the development phase, we have the presentation phase. And this phase is to sell your ideas. So that's why it's followed by a decision, which ideas will be implemented and which ideas will be discarded. Then we have the third phase, which is the post-study phase, which is composed of implementation and follow-up. According to 7th International Standard job plan, the job plan consists of 6 phases. The information phase is to gather information to better understand the project. The function analysis is to analyze the project to understand and clarify the required functions. The creativity phase is to generate ideas on all possible ways to accomplish the required functions. The evaluation phase is to evaluate ideas and concepts and select those that are feasible for development into specific value improvements. The development phase is to select and prepare the best alternatives for improving the value. And the presentation phase is to present the value recommendation to the project stakeholders. Who are stakeholders? What the stakeholders means? Where is our PMP certified? Who are the stakeholders?
Yes, all the parties that have a stake in the project.
All the stakeholders, all the parties who is involved are affected.
Yes, affected positively or negatively by the objective of the project. Yes.
The project.
Exactly, yes. Positively or negatively, who affect or being affected by the project, positive or negative. Exactly. What the value engineering is, to be able to know what the value engineering is, we need to cover those topics. First, why poor value? Why poor value exists? The concept of value, the types of value, who determines the value, dynamics of value, what differentiates value methodology from other problem-solving approaches, when to apply the value methodology. Let's start. Why poor value exists? Because we have a lot of, yes, the reasons for poor value are shortage of time, misleading information, ambiguous goals, objective and scope, hasty decision based on false assumptions, lack of ideas, lack of funds, resistance to change, unrealistic temporary circumstances, politics, bad habits, attitude, and beliefs, over-design and unrealistic safety factors, continuous changing in the owner requirements, lack of communication coordination, using unsuitable standards and specifications. So here's the key. And because we never do life cycle cost estimate. The concept of value, what's the concept of value? From our point of view, all products have different features and functions. And each design uses different design concept to satisfy his customer. But the cost of providing these functions varies from one designer to another, and for the same designer or the same supplier to another design as well. And functions varies according to the user. So who decides if this product has or don't have value? So the client, the customer, the stakeholders. Also, we need to know that we have 3 types of value. Use value, which represents the properties, qualities that make a service or product work. We have esteem value, which represents properties, features, or attractiveness that cause people to want or desire to own or use the subject in their studies. Value, which represents the properties and qualities which enable us to exchange a product or service for something else we wish to have. So yes, the use value is the properties that accomplish use or work. Okay, it represents the must-have. So to be able to make this car work, what we're gonna provide will be related to use value, correct? So what are the basic needs to the customer, the must-haves? Could be good driving system. We'll talk about the mechanical, electrical, the hydraulics, the pneumatics, and having a good body, of course. But will you purchase this car? I think no. I think no, correct? We have a question. What's the basic, what? I didn't read all. So to be able to sell the product or what we have under study, we of course need to study as well the esteem value. how to make the client feel is willing to pay for this product. So we need to add what make we need to add features or attractiveness to make people to feel that they want or desire to own the subject in their studies. So we are not doing a cost reduction. Also, we need to understand the concept of dynamics of value. Value will also change over time with the change of people's minds, lifestyle, and this is called dynamics of value. Many factors can change customer preferences and trade-offs, such as economic conditions and new technologies. Could you give me an example related to dynamics of value? Actually, our meeting right now is a great example for dynamics of value. Before COVID-19, the online meetings has no value at all, and especially in the world of value, so difficult that we consider a value engineering workshop as something that could add value because of the current technology that exists is what make the online meetings have great value today. So could you another example for the dynamics of value? It represents that the items that have high value for you today will not remain having the same value for you in the future, nor it has the same value for you in the past. You've got the concept? Could you please share an example related to dynamics of value?
In present conditions, sanitizer is one example.
Yes. Android and yeah, Nokia. We were used to use Nokia. It's a great example for dynamics of value. Which has more value? It's 1 kilo diamond or 1 liter of water? So
if you are in the desert, 1 liter of water.
Yeah, exactly. So the value of the same product could change for you. Correct?
But maybe,
you agree?
But maybe this is the value will change later on.
Yeah.
If anybody in the desert and he is the 30, maybe he prefers a bottle of water more than this diamonds.
So now we agree on the concept. Now we are on the same page. We are talking the same language. What makes it different? What makes the value engineering different? Actually, we have a lot of tools and techniques which make it different. And we have, of course, our job plan. When to apply the value methodology? We can apply the value methodology whenever we are in any phase, but let's agree that the saving is at the maximum if applied early during the conceptual stage, and the saving will reduce during the project life cycle. From the other side, the implementation cost is at the minimum during the conceptual stage, and of course it will gonna increase during the project life cycle. And let's see now the necessity of value engineering. Let's discuss together the necessity of value engineering for cost estimators.
This is Marco, the virtual assistant of Dr. Jacqueline Fahmy. I'll do a quick presentation about the cost estimation. So let's start by looking at a diagram of basic cost estimate. Normally, we work on quantifying direct and indirect costs, then combining these costs to get our total project costs. We'll then apply a markup to cover our profit margin and corporate overheads. To get the price we submit to the first step in the estimating process will be to determine direct costs. Direct costs will always form the bulk of the project costs. Usually over 7 project costs will be direct costs. To determine our direct costs, we need to develop our work breakdown structure and determine all the work required to complete, develop our delivery solution to complete the works, then quantify the costs for each scope item, so work out the labor plan, materials, and subcontract costs for each of these. Next, we need to determine our indirect costs. These will consist of preliminaries, overheads, and our risk and opportunity. We'll quantify our preliminary costs based on identifying all of our preliminary cost items, quantifying them. We'll determine our overhead costs by creating our project organization chart and estimating staff salaries. And finally, we'll work out what contingency we need to allow for by developing a risk and opportunity register. We'll then combine all these costs to get our total project cost, apply a markup to this cost to cover the business profit margin and corporate overheads, review our estimate, fill out the client pricing schedule, and then submit it to the client. Let's now look at direct cost. Estimating in a little bit more detail. Direct cost estimating can be broken down into 3 simple fundamental steps. Number 1, understand the scope. Number 2, establish the delivery methodology. And number 3, estimate the costs. In step 1, we need to work out everything we need to accomplish to complete the project. What is everything we need to do to finish and hand over the project to the client? This involves creating the work breakdown structure and identifying all the unique project deliverables. These will be summarized into work packages. Next, we need to do a quantity takeoff and determine for each work package the quantum of work to be completed. For example, if we have a work package from a subsurface drainage patent, install how many linear meters of drainage are required. In step 2, we need to establish our delivery methodology. How are we going to complete the required deliverables? This involves developing our construction methodology. Step 2 will be heavily related to procurement and the development of the project schedule. We put a lot of focus on the timing and resource requirements needed to complete the work. By the end of step 2 for each package, we should know whether we plan on subcontracting ourselves, performing the works, and exactly how we plan on delivering the work package. And finally, in step 3, now we know what has to be done and how we are planning on doing it. We can estimate costs. How much money do we need to complete each work package for our self-performed costs? This will require us to estimate our productivities, our labor, plan, and materials. When using subcontractors to complete the works, we'll need to get quotes from subcontractors and suppliers. It's worth noting that all these steps are iterative, meaning they won't exactly occur in the order and the results we get from each pack the previous step. For example, as we're going through and establishing the delivery methodology, we'll probably realize we've missed some scope and have to go back to step 1. Whereas we're estimating costs, we may realize we can save a lot of money by self-performing the works and go back and change our delivery methodology.
Okay, so let's discuss what's the necessity of value engineering for the cost estimators in light of a Marco presentation. No?
We'll get to know the alternatives. For example, we have the creative phase. In creative phase, we can get alternatives of material, and whichever will be the cheapest one, we can opt for it or propose it as per the understanding I got.
Yeah, exactly. And it's related to direct and indirect costs. So we can propose changes that could affect. And sometimes from the application of value engineering, we discover that we have work packages that has no value to the client. So means the client is paying a bill for something that has no value for them. Okay, regarding the link, I will use the link, of course. Okay, I will share the link. If you don't mind, please share the conversation. Okay.
This is Marco, the virtual assistant of Dr.
No,
Jacqueline
finish, Marco.
Fahmy.
No, Marco.
I'll do it.
Finish. Okay. Why it's time to become a certified value specialist? Number one, because there is a big confusion between the application of value engineering and the cost reduction. We need to understand and to clarify to our organizations that we are not reducing the cost. We are improving the value. And sometimes we are improving the quality as well, because we are focusing on the quality. We study the quality, we study the functions, we work on improving the level of performance. This is one of the value engineering tools and techniques that we are using, in which we highlight the impact on the current situation to be able, after the value engineering, to highlight the impact after the application of the value engineering proposals. Okay, we are not focusing only on cost. Also, during, as a part of the development phase, we are doing the life cycle cost. Do you know the life cycle cost? As a part of this exercise, we are not only studying the direct and indirect cost, because those represent only the could represent the initial cost. We are focusing as well on the replacement cost, the major repair and replacement that happen periodically, and we are studying as well the annual operation and maintenance cost. This is one of the topics which I consider so important for the cost estimators as well. Would you like to share the conversation? Any comment? أنا سمعت حد كان عايز يشارك يا جماعة ورجع في كلامه. Why it's time to become a certified value specialist? To increase return on investment. Because we will work on reducing the cost in possible ways. Please click the link below to receive. Okay. Why it's time to become a certified value specialist? To deliver reliable results, because now people are interested to apply agile and follow agile projects. In the agile, you know that we don't have a fixed scope, correct? So to be able to deliver only what the client feel has a high value for them, we need to study the value engineering as well. To unleash creativity and innovation, because we have the creativity phase, which represent a part of the value engineering job plan. And of course, it boosts performance and improve effectiveness and reliability. And we're gonna deal with uncertainty. What if you discover that your project become over budget? What's your proposal as a cost estimator? You need to study well the value engineering to be able to propose alternatives which could improve the value for your client. Do you know the invert triangle model? People certified ACP or people certified PMP? Do you know the inverted triangle model? Okay, as per the traditional approach, we have triple constraint, which was excuse me, which is as per the traditional approach and waterfall projects, we have triple constraint, which are the scope, time, and excuse me, the scope, time, and cost. So to be able to achieve this scope, we have two variables, which are the time and cost. But today, according to the agile approach, we've changed our and the need to improve the value of our client, and due to uncertainty, we are considering that the time and cost are fixed, and the scope become the variable parameter. So it means another indicator that you need to study very well the value engineering to know which scope we need to provide to our client without sacrificing quality and without affecting negatively the quality or the value. From the value engineering perspective, we have to be able. We have triple constraint. Our triple constraint is our triple constraints are the function, cost, and quality. And to be able to reduce the cost, our main opportunity is to study the functions. And that's why we consider the function analysis phase as the soul of the value engineering, and this is what distinguishes the value engineering from any other problem-solving approach. We are studying the function. We work on analyzing the functions to basic functions and classify those functions to basic and secondary, and we study on studying those secondary functions, and then we study how to achieve all the required functions using the least possible cost, or and sometimes by improving the quality and level of performance as well. So it's not anymore the same approach, the same traditional approach, which is followed by the cost reduction. To be able to reduce the cost, normally people sacrifice quality. Thank you. Do you have any question?
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Anybody from, you could raise your question, you can unmute yourself, and you could ask a question. Okay.
Larry, can I ask a question to Dr. Jacqueline?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just Dr. Jacqueline, thank you very much for your presentation today. Really, it is very valuable. And as estimators, totally, that there is an interaction between value engineering requirements and also the roles of the estimators. So sometimes, just due to the repetitive of the work, we waive the value engineering sessions, and really it's an issue with all the estimators. Sometimes if you work as a client or owner side, usually value engineering session, we put it as not applicable, you know, and this is one of the reasons a lot of projects have, a lot of projects have bad consequences due to jeopardizing the quality and functions and value retained by meeting the objective of the projects. The question now, which is the suited phase to start the value engineering session or analysis? Because people, they misusing this word, or, you know, knowing exactly the definition of the difference between value engineering and value analysis. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, first, let me clarify the difference between value engineering and value analysis. Okay, both are referring to the value methodology. The value methodology, it means we are talking about the three main stages, and we have in the second stage we have our 6 main phases. Okay, so this is the methodology. Sometimes the methodology is called value analysis, and sometimes value engineering, and sometimes called value management. So what's the difference between those three names in terminology? First, we refer to the value analysis. We are using the value analysis term when we are talking about the application of value methodology on something that exists already. So if you are talking about an existing product, existing project, something that exists, so we are naming the value methodology as value analysis. And in case we are applying the same methodology on something which doesn't exist, means we don't have the product, we don't have the building, we don't have the project, we just have few drawings. So in this case, we are naming the value methodology value engineering. Okay, so what about the management now? Correct? The management is application of this methodology on services or systems. Okay, in case we're gonna apply, in case we're gonna apply the value methodology in our organization for all the current existing projects, which mean doing the analysis for all the upcoming projects in the design, which means we're gonna do the value engineering, and in case we need to hire or fire employees, we are applying the value management. So did I clarify the difference between the three needs? The second question was about when to apply the value methodology, because it's almost neglected all the time. The best opportunity is to apply the value methodology during the conceptual stage, as I explained during the presentation, because simply number one, it would be easy to implement the alternatives in the design, because it represents the minimum acceptable cost for change. On the other side, we have an opportunity, if applied early, to propose new systems, new approaches, new materials, which will be but of course, the acceptance level will absolutely decrease during the project life cycle. Did I?
Yes, Doctor, thank you very much. And I agree with you, totally agree with you. The methodology is being implemented wrongly because, you know, most of the cases of the projects, especially capital projects, they do the value engineering session after 30% of the engineering. And I do believe that, you know, value engineering has huge impact at the early stage in conceptual, you can say, package, where, you know, just still you can save a lot of money, you know, especially if you start early, at least you can minimize the engineering efforts that will be wasted in case if you change in development phase or feed package as what's happening as a norm practice right now. That's why most of the project managers, they have, just misconceptual, that, value engineering is wasting the engineering efforts, and we already paid money to the consultant. We don't want to retain back to zero. So I agree with you, should be in the concept phase.
The main issue is that you need to educate your client.
Yes, you are right.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. There's a question here from Abdullah. So upon completion of the cost estimating, we will determine the baseline cost. Out of the baseline, we will determine the most costly items, and we will work on this item in order to reach the cost optimization without compromising from the function that is required by the client. We will try to find unnecessary costs. I think it's a comment, I think. So there's what is the main difference between value management and value engineering in a nutshell? Can you answer, Doctor?
Yes. It's answered.
Okay.
The same question.
Yeah, yes. Okay, design phase. Thank you very much. Okay. So I think no more further questions, I think. Okay, so before we end, we would like to present this certificate of appreciation to our guest speaker, Dr. Jacqueline Fahmy, President, SABE International, Eastern Mediterranean and Africa Chapter, for being a guest speaker of AACE Arabian Gulf Section virtual technical webinar presentation entitled The Necessity of Value Engineering for Cost Estimator, given 31st of May 2022 at Kingdom of Saudi Arabia via Zoom application, signed by our President, Ghassan Al-Busari. So thank you very much, Doctor, for your information and very informative presentations. And thank you also for all the guests for joining us our evening webinar. Susan, if you have something to add on?
No, thank you. It was my pleasure being with you today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the great opportunity.
Okay, good night.
Good night. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. شكرا كثير لك يا دكتورة.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
مشكورة دكتورة جاكلين.
كيفك يا باشمهندس؟ ايه اخبارك؟
Thank you. شكرا.
والله الحمد لله. الله يحفظك يا دكتورة. مشكورة مش شكر جزيل.
ميرسي. اتشرفت. السلام عليكم. اقدر اسيب المحاضره؟
يا دكتورة يعني ممكن، ما فيش مشاكل. الله يحفظك يا دكتورة.
ميرسي، يا رب تكون عجبتكم البرزنتيشن.
والله فوق الاكسبكتيشن، شيء ممتاز.
بجد؟ عجبتك؟
والله العظيم يعني من 3 شهور احنا بنحاول يعني على المحاضرة هذه يا دكتورة. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
ميرسي. شفت ماركو عمل لكم برزنتيشن خاصة بيكم يعني.
الله يحفظك يا دكتور. أنا شفت المجهود للأمانة، يعني meet all the expectation, more than expectation. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
We are expected more in the future إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله تحت أمركم. ميرسي. باي باي.